more often than not, and that we as an economy are a country that other countries want to do business with. And so as a result, our influence, our soft power as well as hard power in the world enables us to have those difficult conversations with countries that aren't pulling their weight on climate change. And so I actually envisage us going even further after we leave the European Union in pressing the case for things like climate change and human rights and other things on the world stage.
Okay, so you may be aware of Shop Stamford, something our principal here feels very strongly about and is in full support of. It's an initiative to encourage local people to shop locally. So should you be elected this month, what will be done to enable initiatives like Shop Stamford remain a priority and we don't end up with a high street of empty shops?
So I completely agree with your headmaster. Shop Stamford has actually, I found this unbelievable. They've only been running a year, and yet you wouldn't know that because it is everywhere, and everybody knows about hashtag Shop Stamford, and quite rightly too, because there are some amazing independent businesses in Stamford. In fact, I just had lunch. And so we need to make sure that whoever is the Member of Parliament, that they push and promote Stamford as a great place to come and visit, a great place to come and have an independent coffee, lunch, and buy goods from our shops. And so my job, if I am elected as Member of Parliament, will be to help promote Shop Stamford. Funnily enough, on election day, on the 12th of December, we're having late night shopping.
Yes.
Hashtag Shop Stamford late night shopping, and I will try and nip out and support that on the night of election day. But we need to do more of that. I should also say that I want to be the MP not just for Stamford, but for Bourne and Grantham too. Grantham has Totally Locally, which is their version of Shop Stamford, and we've just seen that Bourne, the community of Bourne, has launched Love Bourne. And so as Member of Parliament, I want to support all three of our big towns, not just Stamford.
Okay. So according to Mental Health First Aid England, 12.8% of young people aged 5 to 19 meet clinical criteria for a mental health disorder, and about 20% of young people with mental health illnesses wait more than 6 months to receive care from a specialist. What will be put in place locally to ensure children and young people receive early intervention and the support they need?
So mental health is one of the biggest issues that we have in this country to tackle right now, and the impact of mental health issues can be seen in lots of different spheres, whether you're looking at homelessness, family breakdown. A number of issues stem from mental illness, and so it is right that as a government we seek to address those issues, and so we've made a commitment that as part of the £34 billion of extra funding for the NHS, just over £2 billion will be injected into the NHS specifically to bolster the work that is going on for mental health and mental health treatment. And we need to make sure here locally that the healthcare professionals have the support and resources that they need to be able to meet with and treat mental health patients here locally in Stamford and Grantham, Bourne, and all of our local villages.
Both the Green Party candidate and the Liberal Democrats candidate for his constituency have said they want to put mental health on the same level as physical health and priorities. Do you agree with this?
I think it's a very noble ambition. I think it is quite right that mental health is given the seriousness that is warranted given the prevalence of it in society today. It is a serious issue for a number of families. It's something that I think all of us can not necessarily relate to, but all of us have a story or a relative or a friend that is going through a difficult time. And it is right that we as politicians make sure that the NHS, that our healthcare professionals have the resource, training and time to be able to help tackle that.
Okay, right, moving on to Brexit now, because we couldn't avoid it in this election campaign. Boris Johnson claims his Brexit deal is oven ready. However, Jeremy Corbyn states that such a deal will take another 5 to 7 years to negotiate. It's also worth noting that none of the other EU's recent free trade agreements have been negotiated and provisionally implemented in under 3 years. So will the Conservatives really get Brexit done in 2020, or will we still be talking about it in 3, 4, 5 years' time? As many experts believe, extending the transition period may be unavoidable.
So the first thing to say is that at this election, let's not forget that the choice for the British people and the people in Grantham and Stamford constituency is between a candidate and a party who have committed to getting a deal through Parliament so that we can start the first stage of Brexit, which is then the big stage, the main stage, which is actually leaving the European Union, which we have not been able to do for 3 years. All the other parties have different policies on this, but Labour want to delay even further. They think that they can renegotiate a new deal in, I think they said 3 months, and then have a referendum which will happen within 6 months. So that's another 9 months of delay for the British people. And this is further on from 2016 than we are today. The Liberal Democrats have said that they will revoke the decision that was taken in 2016, and even my friends who were passionate supporters of Remain feel that that is an unacceptable position. We have a democracy for a reason, we have these events for a reason. You may not like the result, but you should execute on it and do right by the electorate. So that's the choice. A quick deal that we can get through Parliament before the end of January with a Conservative majority, or more dither and delay from the other parties. You asked about the trade arrangements. I think the European Union are very motivated to enter into a trade arrangement, trade deal with us by the end of 2020. I think they are very motivated economically and politically to make sure that we have an agreement in place. Let's not forget also that it's not like we didn't see this coming, this stage. So a lot of work is already going on behind the scenes with our civil servants, with our ministers, to start putting in place the principles of a trade deal. And so I agree with the Prime Minister that we should be able to get that done by the end of the year. We've committed to doing that.
Okay, would you be prepared to back a no deal and face the consequences that come with it?
So I have always said that in any negotiation, and any negotiation that I've ever done, by the way, you need an ability to be able to say, I am not happy with what is being proposed, I will walk away. It is a very basic tenet of any negotiation. When you're buying a car, you don't go and buy a car and say, I'm going to buy it at whatever price. You know, I can't walk out of here without a car. You don't do that. And that was a basic principle that I have firmly believed in. So, and I still believe in that. I still believe that in a negotiation, if you cannot get a good deal, if you're going to be bullied into doing something you don't think is right for the country, you should be prepared and willing to walk away.
If you were the Prime Minister, what would you change about Boris Johnson's Brexit deal?
I think it is a very good deal. I think it is a deal of compromise. Let's remember that this is a very emotional subject for a number of people in Britain, quite rightly. It is an agreement between the European Union, who haven't had this happen before, and Britain, who are standing proud in the world and ready to do trade with other nations. So I think this is a good compromise. That's why I've pledged to support it, and I will vote on it if I'm elected as the Member of Parliament.
What would you change anything about it?
I'm very happy with the deal that Boris Johnson has negotiated. I think it is a good compromise. It takes us out of the customs union. It keeps us together as one country. And I think you only have to look at some of the more ardent Brexiteers who have said that they're happy with that. And all of the people who are worried about a no deal, well, now they need to get on board because this is a good deal.
Do you believe that people had a full understanding of what Brexit meant back in 2016? And if a referendum were to be held tomorrow, would we be looking at the same results?
I think people, certainly the people I've met on the doorstep, knew full well what they were voting for. I don't think it is fair to people, these constituents who are in the country, to imply that they didn't know what they were voting for. I think we should have a bit more belief and trust in our own people and not talk down to them. And I think one of the issues that we have in this country is that every day that goes by we don't fulfil the wishes of the majority after the referendum is another day that people lose trust in politicians. I don't blame them.
Okay, so moving on from Brexit now to the NHS. The government has been heavily criticised over their running of the NHS, being accused of staff shortages, increasing waiting times, and closure to local hospitals, especially A&E departments. How are you going to ensure round-the-clock healthcare? How are you going to ensure round-the-clock healthcare for Stamford and Grantham residents?
So I would obviously disagree with a lot of your assertions and the assertions that have been made in the question. We are now committed to investing another £34 billion of investment in the NHS. One of the claims is that the number of doctors and nurses has gone down. It is not true. We have more nurses, for example, in the NHS today than we had in 2010, but I concede, and the government party has conceded, that we need to go much further, and we have committed to hiring a number of new doctors and nurses, giving them a pay rise and making sure that GP appointments are easier to get and quicker to get. For us here in Grantham and Stamford, we have two hospitals, Grantham, as you know, and Stamford just down the road from the school here. They are run by two different providers, and as a Member of Parliament, I'll be working with both of those providers to ensure that we have the healthcare provision that we need as residents. And be mindful of the fact that as a constituency, we're actually growing in population. And so we don't just need a short-term fix to make sure that people are happy and get the appointments that they need today. We need to make sure that we have a long-term plan, a long-term strategy for ensuring that the people who move to this area, as we grow in population, that they can be cared for too. That's what I'll be working with the two providers, the provider for Stamford Hospital and the provider for Grantham Hospital as well.
Sam, I have to finish now. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you very, very much. Before you end, what ministerial positions would you be interested in the future?
Do you know, I've not been asked that question. This is one of the toughest interviews I've had in this campaign. I never ever thought that I would have the opportunity to run for Parliament one day and be, have the chance of winning. And I'm working very hard to win this seat and become a Member of Parliament. If I do that, I'll have exceeded all of my expectations that I had in life, and will be very, very happy to be a local Member of Parliament representing this area in Westminster. So I'll be quite happy if that's as far as I get.
Okay, and finally, please summarise why you, your party and your leader deserve our vote.
We're going to get Brexit done, and we're going to move on to the services that people like me and you both care about. Sorting out our police, making sure that our NHS is well invested, making sure that per pupil funding for our schools goes up, making sure that we here in Grantham, Bourne, Stamford and all of our local villages have a strong representative in Westminster, making sure we have good local services, but ultimately, as I said, that we deliver that 2016 referendum result.
Gareth Davies, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.